Hey, what's up guys? It's Gary here. In this video, we're going to talk about how you can make a side or full-time business driving taxi for the Amish. So let's just dive on into it. I'm sure most of you guys already know that the Amish do not drive cars, but for the people that didn't know that or don't know the reasoning why they don't drive cars, well, here it is. The Amish believe that owning a car could lead to tearing apart a family, the church, and the community. People who own cars tend to be away from home too much, and cars make the community more scattered. Therefore, many Amish hire non-Amish drivers to transport them to places outside of the 10-15 mile limit that they would usually travel in their buggies. You may be thinking to yourself now, why don't they just order an Uber? Well, some new order Amish will use cell phones and pagers, but most older Amish will not. So that option for them just moves right out the door. They can't use a phone to order an Uber. So what do they do next? Well, that's when you come into play. But now, how do you get started with something like this, especially if you don't know anybody that's in the Amish community, or if you don't know anybody that's already in the business of doing this? And I was reading a few articles online of guys that actually do this full time, and what they suggested or what they did was simply went up and they asked them. They would go to their local Amish communities that are in their area, and they'd say, hey, do you guys need a driver? Now, most of them didn't already have a driver, so they were already in like that. Now, some of them did have a driver, and what they would do was they would negotiate with them saying, hey, we can give you a better price per mile than what your current driver is charging you, and things like that. But the real key question here is this going to be worth my time and energy to do? Now, I was reading up, and most of them said that they would charge about $1 on average per mile that they drove, and then they would charge about $7 to $12 for waiting time. And waiting time means if you had to take them to the doctors or if you had to take them to the grocery store, you sitting there in the car waiting on them. Also, you may be thinking to yourself, actually, how much am I going to be able to work? Am I going to be able to drive every single day, every other day, how many hours a day, things like that? And on this article I was reading, this guy does it full time. He also made it very clear that he lives in Pennsylvania, which Pennsylvania has a huge Amish community. And he said that last year he recorded 3,600 hours worth of work. Now, he said he was getting paid about $22 on average whenever you calculate the miles drove and the waiting time. So that means that he made $79,000 last year by simply driving for these Amish communities. But he also stated that there are a lot of differences from doing this as a side gig to a full-time job. And if you're going to do this as a full-time job, there are registration and fees that you have to pay. The first thing that you have to get is a commercial driving insurance. Now, he said that cost him about $1,500 a year. And then you have to get a Department of Transportation registration that costs $40. And then you also need to put the registration label on your vehicle, as well as keep a first aid kit and fire extinguisher in the vehicles at all time. And then the last thing that he had to get was a public utility commission cut, which was $350, and it's renewed annually. So now what are some of my thoughts and opinions about doing this? And I think if you're going to go the route of making this a full-time job, the first thing you need to do is you need to see what all registration and fees that you have to take care of and make sure that you're on top of that. The second thing that I think you need to do is you need to be on your A game. And what I mean by that is a lot of Amish families are all about referrals. If this Amish family thinks you're a very good driver, you're there on time every single day, well, then they're going to refer you to the next family, and so on and so on. Now, I think if you're going to do this more as a side gig, it'd be perfect for high school students or college students, especially if you need some money on the side. The only bad thing with it is you're kind of on call at all times. If this family needs to go to the doctors right now, well, then you got to go and pick them up. If they need to go to the grocery, then you got to go. Now, that's what's kind of the downside with doing this versus Uber. With Uber, you can kind of cancel or quit at any time. If you don't want to work today, then you don't have to work, and things like that. With all that being said, I hope you guys learned something new today. I'm sure most of you guys never realized that there are actually people that drive Amish families around. And if you enjoyed the video, all that I ask is you push that like button, and I will see you on the next one.